everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my foundation routine. Since I didn't go too in-depth into it in my first video, I figured it would be a good time to do that now. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more specifics on my foundation routine, go ahead and keep watching. So I thought I'd start out by showing everybody how I wet my beauty blender because I had a couple people let me know that they didn't know you were supposed to. So I just run it under the faucet, squeeze it quite a few times. I'll squeeze it kind of slowly just to make sure I'm letting all that water in there and all of the air is coming out. So I'll squeeze it real hard a few times, let that water seep in. You can tell by it's starting to get darker in color. So just make sure I keep squeezing it, letting as much water in as possible. You'll be able to tell by how it looks and kind of like the feel of the weight of it, of how much water is in there. So just keep squeezing until you feel like you've got it fully saturated with water. Turn off the water, start squeezing the water out. Squeeze it until no more water comes out. So just a few times, and you'll be able to tell like if you flip it over and there's, you know, like a dark spot or something. So just squeeze till no more water comes out. But just make sure you don't wring too hard with your hands because you don't want to risk getting your nails in there and damaging the sponge material. But once all the water is out, we're ready to go. All right, I'm gonna clip my hair back just to get it out of the way. I hate trying to do my foundation when my hair is in the way. I'm gonna use 2 or 3 different types of moisturizers. On my neck, I'm gonna use the Proactive Green Tea Moisturizer. I like to use more than one type of moisturizer because I feel like the skin on my neck is different from the skin on my face. And then I feel like the skin on the bottom half of my face is different from the skin on the top half of my face. So the reason I like to use the green tea moisturizer on my neck is because my neck always feels so dry. And the green tea moisturizer is really moisturizing, very soothing. It's like cooling. It's really refreshing. Then on the bottom half of my face, I'm going to use the Proactive Clarifying Day Lotion. I mean, obviously, since it's Proactive, it's supposed to be anti-blemish. I tend to have the most breakout problems around my mouth, chin, and jawline. So I use this moisturizer on the bottom half of my face because I feel like that's where I'm the most likely to get zits. And then on the top half of my face, I'm going to use the Proactive Advanced Daily Oil Control, because this is the part of my face where is the most likely to get oily. I don't have oily skin. I feel like I kind of have combination skin, although it's combination, but if I was going to lean more towards one side, I'd say normal to dry, just because I have so many spots that tend to get dry patches. But then I can get a little oily in the T-zone. So that's why I like to use different types of moisturizer on different parts of my face. That way you're not just limited to using like an anti-oil moisturizer, which is then gonna like dry out the bottom half of your face. So that's a tip to any of you guys out there that might feel like you don't particularly like the moisturizer that you're using. If you have sort of combination skin, you might try using more than one type on different parts of your face. All right, so then I'm gonna put on my foundation primer. It's just the Rimmel Fix and Perfect. Rimmel also makes another foundation primer that's got a purple cap instead of blue. That one, when you squeeze it out of the tube, it's like skin colored. It's not white like this one is. I've tried it and I hated it. I don't know exactly what all like differences it claims to have, but I really did not like it. Then I'm gonna prime my lips just because I feel like when I put my foundation on, if I happen to get any foundation on my lips, it's a lot easier to wipe it off if I've put on like lip balm beforehand. Gonna use my Revlon Color Stay foundation. Still haven't gotten a lighter shade. I thought I'd make this video because I didn't really go too in depth on my foundation in my first video. I kind of talked through it. Figured I could get a little bit more specific and in-depth explaining it in this video. Someone asked me why you tap with a beauty blender as opposed to like rubbing. I do it for a couple of reasons. You're blending the foundation way better if you tap the sponge on your skin. If you rub it, you're basically just going to rub the foundation around your skin rather than blending it into your skin. If you rub, your foundation is going to get really patchy. You're not going to get good coverage. And also, if you rub the sponge around your skin, it's more likely that your sponge is going to absorb some of your foundation. Because if you tap, the sponge is mainly just helping blend the foundation into your skin. If you rub, you're really putting a lot of pressure and force on the material that the sponge is made of. And it's gonna be more likely to get more deep into your sponge. Now, the reason that I spread out my foundation on my skin first is that I find you can get a lot better coverage this way. If you squirt the foundation out onto a surface or onto your hand and then you pick up the product with the sponge, I find that the motion of dipping the sponge into a big puddle of foundation, it's more likely that the foundation is going to get into your sponge because you're dipping it into such a thick, dense pile of product. So by spreading it out on your skin beforehand, you're then putting your sponge into the thinnest amount of product as possible. Plus, you've already thinned it out on your skin and given yourself the coverage that you need on your skin. And it's gonna be less likely that your sponge is going to pick up more product than it should. I really do need to invest in a fuller coverage foundation. I've been planning on it for a long time now, but I just keep putting it off. I really want the Estee Lauder Double Wear, but it's like $40 a bottle. And even though it'll last a lot longer than what I'm using now since it's such full coverage, I'm sure you guys understand, it's pretty hard to suck it up and spend that kind of money on one thing, even though you know it'll be worth it. But the paler I am, the more it's making me realize that I really do need a more full coverage foundation, because the paler your skin, if you have scarring or red patchiness, it's way more apparent on your skin when it's against something so starkly white. And as I'm going around my face, putting the foundation on, if at any point I feel like my sponge is too dry and it's just not blending very well, I'll sometimes get up and re-wet it just to have it blend a little bit better. Sometimes when you get so much product all around the outside of the sponge, it can start to have a little bit of trouble blending. But it's an easy fix. You can get a little bit more full coverage out of your foundations if you use a foundation brush. But I used to use a brush and I just really did not like the finish that it gave my skin. Yeah, I got more full coverage, but it can tend to look a little streaky. Sometimes you can even see the brush strokes on your face. I find that a sponge is just so much more seamless, makes it look way more skin-like. The problem that you can run into when you use a brush is that even though it's giving you more full coverage, it just doesn't look as natural. My jawline has always been my problem area, so I kind of have to put a lot of foundation on it. I tend to break out around my jawline, so gotta always add a little bit more coverage here. They have this in two different ranges. They have the combination oily, which is what I use, and then they have the normal to dry. After I had used this foundation for a while and I was using the combination to oily, I decided, hey, maybe I should try the normal to dry. Maybe it'll add a little bit of moisture back into my skin. And I don't have completely oily skin, so I thought it would be okay to try. I hated it. It felt like I was wearing paint on my skin. It felt like the foundation never set. It was always just like spackle sitting on your face. It was not comfortable at all. So even though I kind of have normal to dry skin in certain areas, I find that the combination to oily formula in this particular foundation is the one that works best for me. A lot of different foundations come in two different types, like the combination to oily and the normal to dry. And your first instinct on what might work best for your skin isn't always correct. So I suggest trying both. Even if you happen to think that one of them would never work for your skin, it's always worth a shot. So you can buy your shade in both types and just return the one that doesn't work out for you. Okay, and then once I have a layer of foundation on, I sometimes will go back and add a second layer to certain areas of my skin that need a little bit more coverage. But in between there, I'm going to put a little bit of concealer just on any spots that might be showing through. Also, you guys might have noticed, I don't put foundation all the way up to underneath my eye. I stop it at about right here because I'm going to use such a full coverage concealer. And since this particular foundation that I'm using is combination to oily, it can be a little bit more drying. So I'm not going to put something that's known for being drying underneath my eyes when I'm already going to be using a drying full coverage concealer. So I can save a little bit of foundation that way. So you're saving product and you are making an effort to not make your under eye look as dry. You're putting one layer of concealer on there as opposed to 2 layers of foundation and then concealer. So that's a good thing to get in the habit of doing when you're dealing with aging underneath your eyes. And then I put some concealer on my neck to help blend the foundation down since it's too dark for me right now. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified when I make new videos. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye!